Welcome to the 38th installment of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wells. With me today, former left tackle from football, and he's now in the tattoo business, Aaron Kia. Aaron, welcome to Talk Story.
Hey, Wyatt, right on. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We know it's been a whirlwind week for you. Have you gotten any sleep since the latest addition to your family?
Not really, no. But we knew it was coming. It's our first baby as well, so this has been a whole new learning curve for us. But I'm doing fine. We're both doing great. Baby's doing great. Just super grateful, super happy.
Well, from all of us here at ESPN Honolulu, we want to say congratulations to both you and the missus. A great addition to the family. Maybe we'll see baby boy in a football uniform in a couple of decades, perhaps.
You know what? Maybe. For sure.
All right. So fans last saw you wearing the green and white in the 2009 season. Where has life taken you now?
Oh, man. It's been quite a journey. 2009. Yeah, man. It was a long time ago. So since then, I had a short stint with the Jets, along with Braxton Satele, and then after that, I landed myself with the Arena football team out in San Jose. On that team, I actually played alongside with Ray Hisatake and Francis Maka, who are also my teammates over at Francis played defensive end for us, and Ray was actually my left guard. Our senior year, he was my left guard. So it was nice to spend some time with them playing, outside of college. So I spent a season over there, and then I kind of trickled my way down the ladder after that. Played Firefighters League football in Southern California, and then I played with the semi-pro team with our former kicker Dan Kelly. He had connections with the coach for that team and was able to get me a spot. They needed an offensive lineman who understood the system. So I played for them for a couple of seasons. It was good fun, but semi-pro, but it was still fun to kind of get out there and bang heads a little bit. Just grateful for the opportunity. Since then, I've since moved back home, been back home since 2014 and been tattooing since then. Took my apprenticeship. I originally started out at Monarch Tattoo in Haula. Now I'm working out in Waikiki at this new shop. I work alongside a good friend of mine from high school. The shop is called Holomua Tattoo, right off of Eno Road. Same road as the old Wailana Coffee House, where all the OGs that went to I'm sure had some nights at Wailana Coffee House. So right down that road. So it's been nice.
Growing up, what sports did you play, and when did you first start getting into football?
Oh man, so growing up, I was homeschooled my entire life up until high school. So my parents, for my brother and I, they really kind of pushed us to sports that we gravitated towards, that we were interested in. We tried baseball. We did sailing. For a couple of years, we actually swam. We were both swimmers competitively prior to high school. And then when I went to Mililani, I swam my freshman year on the swimming team. Made it to states and everything. And it was within my freshman year that all my classmates were like, "Hey man, you're pretty big. You should come play football." I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then so come my sophomore year, my brother came in as a freshman, and my brother is a lot taller than I am. And so when they saw the both of us, they're like, "Oh no, you guys are playing football. You guys have to come out." And my brother was not about it. He was a guy like, "I'll come out, but I'm not going to play." And so we go out to practice the next day, and that was it. That was like, okay, you're right, you're left, and that was it. And that was our career. That's how football started. So sophomore year, I started playing football, and then come my senior year, then I had a couple offers. The last two offers that were on the table was between Oregon and Hawaii, and Oregon pulled their scholarship and granted it to another student athlete who I later came acquaintance with, like later on down the line. So Hawaii was the last offer on the table. But you know, the choice to play for Hawaii really kind of came down to my dad. I remember a long time ago, we were at a Hawaii versus BYU game years ago. I don't even remember what year it was. I don't remember if it was the year we beat them, but I remember specifically it was a Hawaii versus BYU. And so we were up in the stands. I remember we were like on the 50 kind of looking down. And I remember he kind of leaned over. He's like, you know, one day before I die, I want to see you. It would be great to see you on that field playing. And I mean, he's still alive. My dad's still alive, but I think that's something that always stuck with me. And so when it came down to when Coach Kavanaugh, the offensive line coach at the time who recruited and granted me the scholarship, you know, when he said, hey, we want to offer your son a scholarship, you know, that was like, all right, I think this is the way to go. And then on top of that too, I mean, it's, you know, I consider my life to be nothing short of a blessing. I feel like everybody's life, you know, whatever comes in everybody's lives, there's always a silver lining, no matter how dark it can get, or you know. So I'm kind of relating this to my time at UH. You know, that was 05. You know, I come in 05 to 09, and during that time was the Cole Brennan era. You know, like the top. You know, we were at the top at the time. You know, like June Jones, everything. They had come off of all these great offensive linemen going into the league. You know, like Wayne Hunter and all those guys, Vince Manawai, all these legends that you hear of, and then to kind of walk down those same hallways. Being from Hawaii, I feel like being from Hawaii, being Hawaiian, representing the state, representing your family, playing in front of your family is such an honor, you know. And I feel like sometimes when people kind of compare Hawaii to like these big time schools with like big time programs and they have a lot of money going into the program, you know, you kind of, it's sometimes you lose sight of like, say, well, you know, this is home and it's an honor to play at home in front of all these millions of people. And to represent yourself as a Hawaiian, native of Hawaii, you know, that's something that you know, I might be talking just personally for myself, but you know, it's an honor, and it's such a great mix of people. You know, it's not just Hawaiians and it's all kinds of Polynesians, everybody from the mainland too. You know, and you create a brotherhood. You know, there's so many guys that are from the mainland that, you know, I consider my brothers. You know, it's kind of funny though too, because my brother went and played for UCLA, and so you know he had a great run over there too. So when in the time that I had transitioned from the Jets to the Arena League, I was able to stay in California and train over at UCLA with him and their training staff. And I mean, just the facilities alone over there as compared to Hawaii, it's just like, holy smokes, like obviously these guys got money, you know, like don't get me wrong, Hawaii has everything it needs to run a great strength program, but it's like, to me, it's that nitty gritty in the dungeon. Like you're gonna sweat in this gym and get your sweat on, get your workout on. Whereas at UCLA, it's like holy smokes, like you know all these fancy machines and like these fancy like these rigs and everything. You're like, oh wow. So, but I feel like anybody can make it anywhere when you just put your heart and your mind into whatever it is that you're doing. You know, a little stroke of luck with it too. You know, can go a long way. So it's been nice. It's been really nice.
You mentioned Dad, and he, you know, pretty great football player in his own right. You know, was all state in terms of, you know, being an offensive lineman. Was all OIA Hall of Fame inductee. When you and your brother Micah told Dad that you were going to go out for football and you made the team, and you guys were, like you said, one was left, one was right, what was his response?
Micah's response, my brother's response.
Your dad's response when you found out both you guys were going to play football.
He was I mean, I know he was stoked about it. I know he was super happy. Like for years, and so I understand both sides between him and my mom and the decision not to put us into football growing up. My dad with the accolades that he had coming, through high school and everything, he wanted his sons to play football. And but I feel like he and my mom both understood, like, I feel like a lot of it is the physical stress and trauma that happens during football, especially at a young age. You're out there banging heads, and this whole thing with concussions coming up too. Like, I have a lot of concussions, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to have started playing football at a younger age and had way more concussions up until the point where I stopped playing. I feel like with the amount that I've had currently, like, I feel like I've had enough of that. So I know when it came down to say, oh, they're going to play football now, great. I know he was happy. And then when it was like, well, wait, now they have more potential to kind of take it to the next level, I knew he was ecstatic. And then to even play for Hawaii, that was just the cherry on top for him. And I know he was able to go and see my brother play up at UCLA for a bunch of games as well too. So I think for any parent, just to see their kid, their offspring, just do something that I feel like just they enjoy, they're doing something that they enjoy is, I feel like, the greatest pleasure any parent could have. I'm still new to the game. Obviously, I got my son. He's like 5 days old, 6 days old. But, and my wife had talked about it too, like, what are we going to do about sports? And I'm kind of on the thing like, well, if the beast of football calls to his name, I'm not going to stop him from answering it. Like, I feel like that's what it was for my brother and I too, when it was like, hey, you want to try this out, and when you find that you're good at it and you just continue to get better at it, it's a never ending process to grow and to be better, and like I said, when you go back to it, you invest your time, your energy, and your life into something, you can't help but progress, because hard work and dedication, will never cut you short on anything. So I kind of going back to everything, my dad, I think for him to see us out there having fun and enjoying what we're doing and being successful at it was a huge pleasure for him, both he and my mom. I don't want to leave my mom out of anything either. Mm-hmm. She was a big part of our upbringing too, homeschooling us and all that. But yeah.
Last one here, Aaron, before we take our break. When you think back of your time at Mililani and playing football on those Friday nights, of course, everybody will talk about, Saturday night college football. And for being out here on the island, a lot of what goes into city pride is Friday night high school football. Describe those nights on Fridays at John Kawanana Stadium where you played your home games at Mililani.
Well, at the time that we were at Mililani, we had really good seasons as well. My senior year, we were undefeated all the way up until we lost to Kahuku in the OIA championship. And then we lost to Lahaina Luna in the first round of states. But I have a lot of memories, especially because I don't live in Mililani anymore. I live out in town. But every time I drive past, anytime I'm by the stadium, I drive past it, I can't help but like just look onto the field. Like, there's so many memories because we practiced on that field. We played on that field when it was grass, when it was just grass. Like, I remember when they first installed the turf, I was like, what? Turf? Like, nobody wants to get dirty. Like, but yeah, I can picture the specific mud patches that we would be pushing sleds in. I can see it all. I feel like one of my best memories was we were playing Lelehua I want to say it was my senior year. We were playing Leilahua. It was on OC. They were showing the game on OC 16, and we had a packed out stadium. The entire stadium, but both like home and visitor side was just packed with people. And even on the fence around the perimeter of the stadium, you get the post office on the other side. There's people lined up all over there, like through the whole thing. It was a huge game. I remember it being a really big game. And I mean, we won. We had so much fun. So much fun. Yeah.
All right, Aaron, we do need to take a break, but stay right there. Hopefully baby doesn't cry for the next few minutes. Along with former left tackle Aaron Kia from UH Football, I'm Tiff Wells. You're listening to the ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Top Story. Welcome back to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm Tiff Wells. We're here with former left tackle from UH Football, Aaron Kia. Now, Aaron, when you watch major college football on a Saturday night and you see games, say, at Florida or at Alabama or at an Oregon State, and you ever think to yourself, man, it was so cool that I got to play there in my time at UH?
Yes. I feel like once growing up and seeing all these other schools, these big time schools, like Florida, like the Swamp, all these big time names, and just to be there, I can kind of see why other schools or other teams have a hard time going in and playing at these stadiums, especially if you're from a school that's not within that division, like you're not there all the time, and just kind of taking in all that prestige and glamour. It's like holy smokes, we're in the Swamp, and then you have all these people just screaming at the top of their lungs. You can't hear a word. You have your guard right next to you, and you're like, what? And you're just kind of like talking to each other in sign language, just trying to figure out a count or a play or an audible. But it's super fun. It's just the energy. It's just the energy of being in an environment, and a hostile environment like that, and just playing and just being like, one day you can tell later on down the line, like, I got to play in there, like that's why when I see a couple years back when the boys were able to go play Ohio State out in the shoe, I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. That's really cool. Yeah, man, you're kind of bringing up a lot of memories of all these big time stadiums. I think though one of the most best memories I think I had has always been Fresno State, playing at Fresno State, because I don't think in the time that I was with UH, I don't think we lost to Fresno State once. Yeah, I don't think so. And every time we played at their place, it was their homecoming. We beat them at their homecoming every time, which is always a little, extra salt in the wound.
In the run and shoot offense, whether it's tackle, guard, or center, are any of the three easier than one of the other, or are they all equally difficult?
I think in the run and shoot offense, I think each position has its own, presents its own difficulties. Being in the system of a run and shoot, the offensive line has to know what each player is doing. All five have to work as one. Everybody's got to know whose responsibility is what. I think I wouldn't be one to say, oh, the center would be the hardest position, but the center is, you come to the line, the center is one who's making the call. Based off of his call, everything else kind of falls into line after that. And that kind of works alongside with the running back too, because whatever calls we made determined where the running back would go or where his projection was. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think technique wise, like a pass set or just this way you're engaging in the player, then you kind of get into a whole different ballpark. just because regarding technique, I feel like tackles, you got to be, not that everybody's athletic, but I feel like as a tackle, you got to be a little more technically sound, kind of dancing in space. You don't, you're working from a left tackle position. You have all this whole outside open. Whereas if you're playing guard, you have a tackle on your left and you have the center on your right, So it's just, I guess that's something I could say about that. I feel like if you're playing the run and shoot system, I feel like it's the offensive line has to work as one. They have to know. I wouldn't pin it on one person.
At the Superdome, Sugar Bowl. Yes, we all know. Yes, we all know the result, and yes, it wasn't maybe the best showcase of how good you guys were that year. But you talked about how important it has been to be born and raised, to wear Hawaii across your chest. And when you guys walked out onto the field and you got to be carrying one of those Hawaii flags, what did that mean to you?
I was super proud. I was super proud to carry that flag, and the Kanaka Maoli flag. It was that flag was actually gifted to me, like for Christmas. And the person who gifted me, I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna run out of the stadium with this." They're like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Hell yeah, guys!" I mean, I was very much like, we had the haka and everything. I was very much identifying as a native Hawaiian, and I wanted to kind of go all rootsy and put it out there. In hindsight, maybe I should have. I don't know. It's in hindsight, I always think about maybe I should have had my head in the game more. But the thing was, I didn't start that game. I didn't have a lot of playing time during that game, so I was just happy to be there for the experience and just have a great time and do whatever I could to support the team and be in when I could. But yeah, no, I think running out there as a native Hawaiian, a good friend of mine was talking. He's like, "Man, if you think about it, that's like the pinnacle of college football, and you guys are out there representing Hawaii, like dude, that's crazy, I was like, yeah, I mean that is, and that's where the whole idea came out. Like, I'm gonna run out with this flag because who knows when there will be another era for Hawaii football that'll make that kind of a run, like. I know nothing about the politics of college football, but I feel like for us to make it to that level at that time with the charisma that we had going into it, I thought that was just something really special and really unique. And I was super proud to be Hawaiian and to be like, this is us. This is us as representing the state of Hawaii. That was a really special moment for me, and I hope every other kid out there, everybody from Hawaii. I know I was running to people and said, they ask when I played, I'll tell them, the Cole Brennan era. And oh, you're at the Sugar Bowl. I was like, yeah. And so they'll say, oh, my son played for Hawaii or committed to Hawaii after watching those games. Is super inspired. So it's funny too, because it's the generations that are in college now that were the younger generations watching us at that time. That's what's kind of crazy to me. I'm tattooing kids who were like born in 2000 and like 2001, 2002. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like I was a freshman in high school.
They're making you feel old there, Aaron.
Oh my gosh, dude. Age is but a number, and I choose not to believe in the number, but just how I feel. So I feel great, So whatever.
you bring up your former quarterback, Cole Brennan, the late Cole Brennan. Tragic, of course, and what he did for the state, what he did for the program. Everyone's gonna remember it. But you got to be in the huddle, on the line with him day in and day out. What will you remember most about Cole Brennan?
I do want to say up first, I didn't get a lot of playing time with Colt, but because I was a redshirt sophomore that year, I believe. But I had a couple plays in with him, but I wasn't in there as a starter with him. I don't want to take anybody's glory from, the time that they had with him. But Cole was a very great guy, and to lose him in the way that he went was tough. I feel like, speaking for myself, it was hard because it was somebody that I feel like we all looked up to, and we all kind of had an idea of what was going on. And it's one of those things. It's like, oh, reach out to him at some point. I'll talk to him later. I'll reach out to him, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, my man is gone. And so that, I feel like for me, I didn't have a very tight relationship with him, like Devon and all the other receivers, Rivers and all them. But like, I kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, like the relationship you build with all these men, it's like a brotherhood. It truly is a brotherhood. And to lose somebody who was like your leader, to something that is a personal struggle, that's tough. Because one of my teammates posted something on Instagram, and he said something where he feels like, our job on the field was to protect this guy, and we did him the ultimate disservice by not protecting him when he needed help the most. And I was like, oh my God, dude, you just like, it hit me like a ton of bricks when I read that. I was like, that's so true, because it's like, you think everybody's fine until, you hear otherwise. And then by that time it's too late. So that's, like I said, even though I have a whole lot of playing time with Cole, I think just the relationship and just having him as a person, as a brother in our life during that time, that was kind of a tough one to take. But he left a great legacy. He left a great mark for Hawaii. I feel like he really helped build the program of Hawaii.
You talked about the time with the Jets that you had after graduating from UH, undrafted rookie. You were in minicamp. Was it tough to focus on football when HBO is on site filming Hard Knocks?
No. What was tough about having HBO there was them following me to the meeting I had where I got released, or I got let go from the team. That was the hard part. I was like, you're there for one thing and one thing only, and that's to play football. And for me, anyways, I didn't feel like I had any kind of a blip on anybody's radar. I was just trying to, do the work I needed to get done. But it wasn't until the day that they cut me that the cameras were following us. And I was like, I think I'm getting cut. I was like, I think this is going to happen. I've heard about this. Sure enough, I sit in the room and I was like, oh, I'm getting cut. I was like, all right. And that was tough. That was tough to watch on HBO. I'm sure I'm not the only player that's had to watch themselves get the axe on HBO. You know what I mean? But
a couple of years ago, I believe it was in March. I believe it was on a Monday night. You and your wife were at home, and all of a sudden you spring into action. There's a car that was driving up Kamehameha Highway, I believe.
Yeah.
And kind of how about you tell us the story and how that experience, I guess, how has that helped you the last couple of years?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much it's helped me. We were just trying to help somebody that night. Well, we were just FaceTime with my brother and his wife. My wife and I were on FaceTime. We're just talking story, and we're in the middle of a conversation, and we hear this car like screeching and hit a couple. So Kamehameha Highway went right into. If you go off the road, you go right into the ocean. So this woman hit these rocks on the side of the road. And we heard it, so we turned and we looked. And by the time we looked, her car had already launched in the air. And all we see is the car just kind of flipping like this, with like sparks kind of flying off. we're like, oh, smokes. We're like, hey, man, we got to get out of here. So we get off FaceTime and go run down. My wife calls emergency response. We go down there and kind of help the lady out of the car and everything. Then one of the other neighbors came and helped also. And then this guy came over. He was like, oh, yeah, I sent pictures to the news and this, that, and the other. He's like, how about I take your picture? I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I took a picture and then he sent it to the news. And then next thing you know, they all show up at our place. Everybody's doing cameras and all that. And I was like, oh, all right. And then one of my former teammates, Kainoa, came over and said, hey, man, you want to do an interview? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So, yeah. And then that got some light for a while there. And then every once in a while, somebody come in and, hey, man, you saved somebody from a car, huh? And I was like, oh, yeah. It's all right. It's all right. Don't get me wrong. Like there's emergency response that do this every day. I just got lucky to be in the right place at the right time, and then got some publicity off of it. It was cool. It's all right, but there are other people that do this every day. You know, like I'm just a regular guy.
Not many athletes go into art and have that as their major. You have that distinction as having an art major from UH. Did you think you were going to be using that in your next life, which right now is being in the art of tattoo business?
You know, to be honest with you, I'm glad that this is something that I'm doing. I'm actually using a degree to something that I'm doing now. I decided to major in art because honestly, I did not like writing papers. I did not like sitting in classes doing things I did not enjoy. I spent all high school doing classes just to get by. And then I get a scholarship. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I have a scholarship for a free education. Why would I waste it on something I don't want to do? So I majored in art. It was not easy because art classes they're studio classes. So they're like 2, maybe 3 hours long. And you have to juggle that with football. You know, they're not like hour classes. So it was a huge sacrifice, but I was able to graduate, play football, you know, and maintain and still get good grades, graduate the degree. And, you know, and to be able to kind of exit football and still find a line of work that's within something I'm interested in, something that calls to me, I think is special. Yeah, I feel like it's special, like, because especially too, because art for me is something that, you know, it's an expression of self, it's an expression of culture. I do believe that the work that I do represents me as a Native Hawaiian, as Polynesians. I'm not one to say that, hey, these Hawaiian patterns mean this exactly. I'm not that guy. I'm just an artist that does contemporary Hawaiian Polynesian artwork utilizing traditional patterns and motifs. I'm not somebody like Keone Nunez or Kaylee Makua, all these guys that do the ancient traditional tapping way. But you know, the exit from football to art, more specifically to a tattoo artist, has been nothing short of a blessing, because I feel like for me, and whatever struggles I've had post football, I feel like art for me has been a great escape and a great exit, and something that's helped me develop as a person aside from being a football player. You know, once I once identified as a football player, now I'm no longer that. I'm a tattoo artist. So that's how I look at that.
Holomua Tattoo in Waikiki. If people are interested in booking a session with you or with the business, what's the best way they could get in touch with you?
Through social media and through my email address. So my Instagram, I don't have TikTok or anything. I'm barely, if ever, on my Facebook, but Instagram would be the one. It's at Aaron Kia _tattoo. AARONKIA_tattoo. A lot of people don't get it right. So Aaron Kia _tattoo. And then my email address, lionsinkhawaii@gmail. LIONSINK Hawaii@gmail.com. That's where they can get in touch with me. Yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me. And I'm always trying to be on top of my emails and everything. Usually when I have long days, it takes me like a day or two to get back, but I'm definitely trying to be on top of my game.
Last one here for you, Aaron. I know this one might be a little bit tougher. Being born and raised, you played high school games at this facility. You played all of your home collegiate games at this facility. Recently announced that Aloha Stadium is going to be condemned. It'll be at least 3 years before UH football plays in that entertainment district. Do you have a favorite memory of playing at Aloha Stadium?
Boise State, 2007, when we beat Boise State, which solidified us the WAC championship, the WAC champions, and everybody rushed the field. And yeah, that was the one. Boise State.
Aaron,
I mean, there are plenty of memories. There are plenty of memories. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Boise State was the one. I was like, yeah, that's the one.
There's a lot. I mean, you can see the Fresno game, that Boise game, the Washington. I mean, there's so many from that senior season, that 2007 season. There's so many to pick from, but that's a lasting one for a lot of people.
I wish whoever was in charge of Aloha Stadium, whatever revenue was coming into that place over the decades that it was there, I wish it was put back into that facility to keep it up to par, because man, that stadium holds so many memories, not just for us, but for like many generations. So whoever was in charge of that, shame on you, man. You know what I mean? Shame on you. Like, gosh, to lose that place and condemn it is kind of that's a tough one. But the good news is I live right next to campus, so if they're gonna have games over at campus, I'm just gonna walk over there and watch some football right next door from where I live. So I'm not too mad about it right now.
There you go, Aaron. This has been so much fun. We really appreciate the time you've given us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again on the newest addition to your family, and best of luck in your tattoo business.
Right on, Tiff. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
For Aaron Key, as well as the rest of us here at ESPN Honolulu, I'm Tiff Wells saying thank you so much for joining us here on the 38th edition of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Until next time, wear that mask, stay safe, be socially distanced.